In this section, we will be talking about using alarms. You may have noticed throughout this course that I have had alarms going off all over the place. Alarms going off on ESXi hosts, alarms going off on virtual machines. Yellow alarms and red alarms. So what is an alarm? An alarm is a notification that occurs in response to a selected event or condition that occurs with an object in the inventory. Default alarms exist for various inventory objects, and you can create custom alarms for a wide variety of inventory objects, for virtual machines, for data stores, and for virtual switches. This is a partial list of some of the default alarms. Let's look at this ESXi host, which has a red alarm on it, and if I click on it and I click on the alarms tab, you can see that an alarm is going off on this ESXi host, and the alarm says something to do with the vSphere high availability host status. If I click on definitions, it shows me all of the alarms and gives a brief definition of what the alarms are. And this vSphere high availability host status alarm is the default alarm to monitor the health of a host as reported by vSphere. And then there are other alarms as well, such as host memory utilization. This is the default alarm to monitor host memory utilization. If I right-click on that alarm and select Edit, we can see that the name of the alarm is Host Memory Utilization, and it can monitor for specific conditions or states, for example, CPU utilization. If I click on the Triggers tab, I can see that if host utilization is above 90% for greater than 5 minutes, it will show a yellow alarm. And if host utilization is greater than 95% for 5 more minutes, then it will show a red alarm. Multiple alarms on the ESXi host. Now let's look at creating our own custom alarm. To create my own custom alarm, I just put my cursor in the middle of the alarms and I right click and I select New Alarm. And I'm going to call this alarm high CPU utilization, and that way it will alert me if a particular virtual machine has significantly high CPU utilization. Now this alarm type could apply to a host, it could apply to a data center, but in this example I will have it apply to a virtual machine, and it will monitor for specific conditions such as CPU utilization. If I click on the tab that says Triggers, I can add a new trigger by right-clicking and selecting Add Trigger. And this trigger will measure virtual machine CPU utilization. And I can configure it such that if virtual machine CPU utilization is above 75% for 5 minutes, it will show a yellow error message. But if it is at 90% for 5 minutes, but if it's at 90% for another 5 minutes, then it will show a red error message. If we click on the Actions tab, we can see that it can be configured to send us an email if the danger threshold is reached. So now I've created this custom alarm. Let's do something to trigger the alarm. One thing you could do is calculate the square root of pi, or another thing you could do is just type dir space c:, and that will generate higher CPU utilization. And if I do that, then I can see, yes, I have triggered that alarm and I've kicked off high CPU utilization on that virtual machine. Monitoring and alarms summary. You can monitor virtual machines and you can monitor ESXi hosts. You can identify key metrics and you can use alarms to alert you when particular conditions occur. And this concludes our section on monitoring and alarms.